A couple of weeks ago, my husband brought up the possibility of separating. And honestly, I was getting tired of hearing it because it wasn't the first time. Over the past few years, I've been doing a lot of work on myself, learning about how I was raised, starting to notice things I never noticed before, like how I would automatically take the blame when someone was upset, or how I'd twist myself into a knot just to keep the peace. I did that for years, decades really, and slowly, I started changing. I started responding differently. I stopped doing some of the things I used to do automatically. And here's the thing nobody warned you about. When you change, the people around you notice, and they don't always like it. That's what was happening with my husband. It wasn't really about him wanting out. It was about the fact that I wasn't showing up the same way anymore. And that's a lot for a relationship to handle. Growing emotionally changes you, and it also changes everything around you. It doesn't make me perfect. It just makes me more aware of patterns of behavior I hadn't noticed. Welcome to Lessons for Life with Grandma Kate. If you're done with people-pleasing, tired of repeating the same patterns, and ready to learn what healthy relationships actually look like, you're in the right place. I get it. I was there too. At 65, I started learning the things I wish I'd known decades ago, how to see the patterns, why we keep repeating them, and how to finally treat ourselves with the respect we always deserved. And somewhere along the way, I realized something that changed everything. When we don't understand our patterns, we pass them on. Not because we're bad parents, but because no one ever showed us anything different. That realization drives everything I do. It's why I write children's books, stories that teach kids about self-worth, boundaries, emotional safety, and making healthy choices from the very beginning. Because if adults are just learning these skills, imagine what can happen when children learn them early. Like a lighthouse, steady and strong, let's all shine a little brighter today. What actually makes it hard when one person grows emotionally isn't just one thing. It's a combination of things hitting you at once. One of the first things that happens is you start speaking a different language. As you grow emotionally, something shifts in how you see the world. You start noticing things. You start feeling things more clearly. You start wanting conversation that actually have meaning. And then you sit across from your spouse at dinner, and it just feels off. It's not that they're a bad person. It's just that you've been learning words they haven't learned yet. And that gap, that space between you, can feel incredibly lonely, even when you're sitting right next to each other. And wrapped up in that loneliness is grief. Because sometimes the grief isn't even about the person. It's about the dream. You had a picture in your head of what your marriage would grow into. Two people, side by side, figuring life out together, getting deeper, growing closer. And when that's not happening, when you're growing and they're staying put, you start to grieve that picture. Even if you're staying, even if you love them, that loss is real, and it deserves to be named. And yes, sometimes underneath all of this is fear. Fear of what happens if the gap keeps widening. Then there's the pull to just go back to who you were. And this one is sneaky. I think it's the one most of us don't want to admit. There's a part of you that knows exactly how to fix the tension at home. Just shrink a little. Stop rocking that boat. Keep the peace. And that pull is strong, especially if keeping the peace is something you've been doing your whole life. But here's what I want you to know. That version of you kept the relationship comfortable, but it did not keep you true to yourself. Something else that makes this hard is that your nervous systems are out of sync. When you've been doing emotional work, your body starts to slow down. You learn to pause before you react. You learn to take a breath. You learn to feel safe even when things are uncomfortable. But if your spouse hasn't done that work yet, they still react fast, shut down, or go quiet. And when that happens, you're not just having a disagreement. You're two people whose bodies are sending completely different signals. One of you feels safe enough to talk, the other one doesn't. And that makes real conversation a lot more challenging. And underneath all of it is this: you are not the same person anymore. Emotional growth changes your identity. The person who used to automatically take the blame, smooth everything over, and make themselves small to keep everyone else comfortable, they're changing. And that changes the whole balance of the relationship. Maybe you're saying no more often. Maybe you're asking for things you never asked for before. Maybe you're just taking up more space. And that can feel threatening to someone who got comfortable with the old arrangement. Not because they're bad, but because change, real change, shifts everything. So now the question isn't just who are you becoming? It's what does this relationship look like now? And if you grew up as the scapegoat, the one who carried the blame, the one who kept the peace by making yourself the problem, this moment can feel especially destabilizing because you're not just changing inside a marriage. You're stepping out of a role you've been playing since you were a little kid, a role that kept the whole family system stable. And systems, whether it's your family of origin or your marriage, they resist that. Ooh, they push back. They try to pull you back into that role. So when your spouse gets uncomfortable with the new you, something old gets triggered. That little voice that says, see, this is your fault. Oh, you're too much. You're causing problems. Just go back to who you were. That voice isn't the truth. That voice is the role talking. The difference now is that you can hear it for what it is, and you get to decide whether you listen. I've always been someone who believes I can do better, whether that was in sports, in school, or just as a person. Most of the books on my shelf are self-help books, and looking back, I now know why. When you grow up as the one who gets blamed, you spend a lot of your life looking for a better way to be, trying to fix yourself so the problems stop. But the real shift came in the last couple of years. I started learning a whole new language, words I'd never really understood before. Triangulation, gaslighting, dismissive avoidant. Some of them I'd heard, but now they had meaning. And once they had meaning, I started seeing patterns I'd never seen before, especially in my family relationships. I saw that I was the one carrying the emotional load. I was the one planning the birthdays, organizing the celebrations, and showing up for everyone, and it wasn't being returned. So I stopped. I started setting boundaries. I spoke up when I felt mistreated. I stopped smoothing everything over just to keep the peace. And that's when my husband got uncomfortable. According to him, I wasn't acting like myself. And he was right. I wasn't. But here's the thing. For the first time in a long time, I actually felt like myself, more confident, doing things I'd put off for years because staying small had felt safer. I was growing, and the relationship was feeling the pressure of that. I won't pretend it's been easy. It hasn't. There are days when that old pull shows up, and part of me just wants to go back to who I was because at least that version kept things calm. But calm and healthy are not the same thing. I know that now. Here's the truth. You can't force someone to grow. You can't drag your spouse to where you are. You can't make them want what you want on your timeline. And trying to do that will wear you out. But you're not helpless either. There are things you can do to protect yourself and give the relationship a real chance. Here are 5 ways to stay grounded when you're growing emotionally in your family relationships. First, Check yourself before you check on them. Before you do anything else, get honest about your motives. Are you focused on your own healing and well-being, or are you quietly trying to pull your spouse up to your level? Emotional growth is about becoming more aligned with yourself. It's not about managing someone else's timeline. And here's something that helped me a lot. Normalize the discomfort. Growing at different speeds feels awkward. It feels scary for both of you. Big feelings don't automatically mean your marriage is failing. Sometimes they just mean the dynamic is shifting. And second, talk to each other, not at each other. When you do bring things up, slow it right down. Use I language. Lead with curiosity. Try saying, I've been changing, and I'd love to know how that feels for you. Lands in a completely different place than you never want to grow. One opens a door, the other closes it. And if either one of you is already in fight or flight mode, heart racing, walls up, voice getting tight, that is not the moment to solve your marriage. Pause. Take turns. Come back when both of you can actually hear each other. Protecting the relationship sometimes just means waiting until it's safe to talk. And third, take care of your nervous system and theirs. This sounds simple, but it's actually really powerful. Before a hard conversation, do something to settle your body first. Go for a quick walk. Sit beside each other instead of across from each other. Even just slowing your breathing down together can lower the defensiveness in the room more than the most perfectly chosen words ever could. Growth conversations don't work when bodies feel unsafe. And fourth, invite. Don't insist. If you want your spouse to grow with you, make it feel like an invitation, not an assignment. Don't get hung up on what their growth is supposed to look like. It probably won't look like yours. It might just mean they get a little more patient, a little more curious, a little less reactive. That counts. You can also look for ways to build connection that don't require them to be where you are yet. Maybe a weekly check-in, something new you try together, small rituals that remind you both that you're still on the same team. And fifth, know your non-negotiables. Emotional growth does not mean tolerating disrespect. It does not mean accepting contempt, ridicule, or emotional harm in the name of being patient. If you are communicating clearly, regulating yourself, building safety, and what you're getting back is chronic dismissal or escalation, that is information, and you're allowed to act on it. Get honest with yourself about what you actually need in order to stay emotionally present in this marriage. Basic respect, emotional safety, no mockery, name it. Write it down if you need to. And if you're spinning your wheels, bring in support. A good couples therapist or coach can act as a translator so that you're not the only one carrying the emotional weight of this. Healing isn't about forcing an outcome. It's about seeing clearly and then making choices from that clear place. And if you have kids, they're watching all of this. You don't have to have it all figured out to model emotional growth. You just have to be real with them. Let them see you name your feelings. Let them watch you set a boundary without guilt. Let them hear you say, I didn't handle that well, and I'm sorry. Those small moments teach them more than any conversation ever could. And if they notice that things feel different at home, because they will, give them simple language for it. Something like, sometimes people in a family grow at different speeds. That's okay. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with anyone. We are each on our own path. That one idea, that we are all on our own path, is something they will carry into every relationship they ever have. It teaches them that they don't have to shrink to match someone else, and they don't have to wait for everyone around them to catch up before they keep growing. You are breaking a cycle, and they are watching you do it. That is one of the greatest gifts you will ever give them. When you start healing, things shift. The way you see yourself changes. The way you show up in your relationship changes. And sometimes the people closest to you don't know what to do with that. That's not a reason to stop. Maybe my husband and I will figure this out, and maybe we won't. But I know this: shrinking myself isn't the solution. Remember, you are not too much. You are not causing problems by becoming more of who you actually are. You are finally taking up the space you always deserved. Whether you're starting to understand yourself more clearly, working through all family dynamics, or learning to do things differently, you're building the skills that help you grow into the person you were meant to be. Listening is important, but real change happens when you use what you've learned. So choose just one life lesson from today and try it out this week. That's when things begin to shift. And if you want more life lessons like this, be sure to follow Lessons for Life with Grandma Kate on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If this episode resonated with you, there's a link in the show notes if you'd like to show your appreciation. Either way, I'm grateful for you being here. And if no one has told you lately, everything will be okay. Tomorrow is a new day, and with it comes new hope. As I conclude this episode, I must state that this podcast is designed solely for educational and entertainment purposes. While I bring my experience as a parent and grandparent, it's essential that you know I am not a licensed therapist. This podcast is not a substitute for professional advice from a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. Got it? Awesome. Until next time, what is one thing you are grateful for?